One of the great truths of King Hezekiah's life was the heart that he had for the house of God. Now, in the very first month of his kingship, I don't know why it took Solomon 4 years to start building the temple, but when this guy became king, there was something he began to do immediately. In 2 Chronicles 29, verse 3, it says, in the very first month of the first year of his reign, Hezekiah reopened the doors of the temple of the Lord and repaired them. In the very first month of the first year of his reign. They said, Pastor, why would he have to reopen the doors of the temple? Because if you go back in our reading to 2 Chronicles 28, verses 24 to 25, you see that his father turned against God. And his father closed the doors of the temple. His father took the articles of the temple and broke them in pieces. His father set up demon altars in the temple and around all of Judah. His father really turned against God and shut the doors of the temple of God, drove the priests out, did not allow the priests to be there to offer sacrifices. You know, there are people like that hate the house of God. And they're always trying to keep people out of God's house. They're always trying to drive people out of God's house. Well, you know, Pastor Summerall, we don't need to go to church. Excuse me. One of the ways I look at people and I recognize their hearts, when they have no heart for the house of God, when they have no heart for a place where an altar for God has been built and Jesus is honored as Lord and is worshiped. Well, you know, we don't need to do that anymore. We're New Covenant Christians. That is so untrue. Every place in the New Testament you find the people of God had a place to meet. We call them church buildings. But they always had a place to meet. And when I find Christians today standing up, closing the doors of the churches, we don't want anybody to go to church, I get very, very concerned because it's the heart of a person who has abandoned God. Now, Hezekiah was exactly the opposite. In 2 Chronicles 29, verses 6 and 7, he says, our ancestors were unfaithful and did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. They abandoned the Lord and his dwelling places. Now, you see, when people abandon the Lord, they also abandon his house. They abandon his dwelling place, a place where he has said, I will walk among the 7 golden lampstands. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. There are places of worship where we gather together. And these people abandon God and they abandon his dwelling places and they turn their backs on God. He said, these ancestors of ours shut the doors of the temple's entry room and they snuffed out the lamps. They stopped the burning of incense and the presenting of burnt offerings at the sanctuary of the God of Israel. He's talking about his own father and his own father's men and leaders. He said, this is what they did. But he wasn't like that. Instead, in verses 16 to 17, he had the priests go in and clean out the tabernacle, clean out the temple. They went into the sanctuary of the temple and they cleansed it and they took out of the temple, the courtyard, all the defiled things. See, these people were not just happy to close the temple doors. They put all kinds of defiled things in there. So the priests went through and they cleaned out all the filth and all the nastiness and took it to the valley of Gehenna, the valley, the garbage valley, and they put it all in there. They cleaned out and repaired God's house. And then in 2 Chronicles 30, verse 12, it said at the same time, God's hand was on the people in the land of Judah, giving them all one heart to obey the orders of the king and his officials who were following the word of the Lord. Gave them one heart to follow the king and his officials who were following the word of the Lord, and they rebuilt and restored God's house. Now, I want you to notice something there. God will give one heart. God will give a group of people one heart to do something. And it's not that they're obeying the king and they're obeying the pastor or they're obeying the leaders. God gives people one heart when leaders are following the word of the Lord. They're not doing what they want to do. They're not out causing division because they want to get a group of people to follow them. But when they're doing what God wants, God will give the people one heart because the leaders are leading the people to follow the word of the Lord. Not one heart to follow Pastor Summerall, one heart to follow what God has asked us to do.